Home. Joining me now from Vancouver is Christina Newberry, author of The Hands-On Guide to Surviving Adult Children Living at Home. Thanks for joining us, Christine.
Great to be here.
All right, so at what point are we doing more harm than good by having our children still stay under the same roof?
Well, it really, that line sort of comes when you start enabling kids to take advantage of you to the point where they start to lose skills that they have already gained in the outside world or that they should be gaining for their age level. So, you know, when you start to do things like do their laundry for them or, you know, pay their cell phone bill, any of those sorts of enabling behaviors, that's when you really can start to do a little bit of damage to their ability to become independent later.
Now, is there a time frame where you say, okay, these are the rules that you're going to stay at home, and maybe this is the duration so that you can start to build a plan with them?
Absolutely. Those are both really important. There do need to be some ground rules, absolutely, about what is acceptable in the home and who's contributing what and what kind of behaviors are and are not allowed in the home for the parents to be comfortable with their adult children being there. And a timeline is hugely important because that timeline really becomes the document that allows the adult child to develop a plan for the steps they're going to take to really work towards achieving their independence, which for any adult child living at home should be the end game.
That's right. Absolutely, you want it to be that way. So let's break down the steps. What's the very first thing you should do, and walk us through the process?
Well, if you've got adult children living at home or they're about to move back home, the very first thing you need to do is sit down and have a conversation about why they're going to be living in your home and how long it's going to take for them to achieve whatever the goal is of their stay. So if they're home after university, maybe the goal is keeping them at home until they're able to get their first professional job. Or, you know, if they've just lost their job, maybe you're supporting them for a while until they can find a new one. So talk about the purpose for their stay, make sure that's really clearly defined, and then talk about as a family how long is reasonable to get to that purpose being fulfilled. Then you need to have a conversation about the financial impact of your child's stay at home. So you should put together a family budget of all your expenses for things like heat and rent or mortgage payment and car payments and groceries and all those things, and talk about how much of a financial impact the adult child is making on those things. And then talk about how that's going to be mitigated. So is the adult child going to completely pay those expenses or pay a portion of those expenses, or maybe if they have no income at all, they're going to pay it off through manual labor around the house, but there should be some kind of contribution there.
Now, Christine, once the child move out, should the parents still help out financially one time or even in an ongoing basis?
I think that's something that every family needs to talk about, but it can really become a completely ongoing situation. If there's an unlimited amount of support, or if you don't have clear guidelines about what that support's going to be, it's very hard to cut it off. So the adult child moving out of your home is an obvious cutoff point. If that's, you say, you know, this is where the financial support ends, then that's a clear break. If you don't make a clear break at that point, you have to be very clear about where that clear break is going to be or what the limits are going to be on the financial support. Otherwise, you could end up just, you know, being the bank account forever.
The bankroll forever. But can I just ask you, though, very quickly, are there cultural differences? Because there are expectations in some families that you would literally stay at home for a long period of time, and then maybe down the road, when I'm 70, I get to move back in with you.
Well, absolutely, and that last part is very important in what makes it work. So in cultures where that is the expectation, there is the expectation on the flip side that the parents are going to be able to get some financial and emotional support from their children when they're in their retirement and in their older years. So in that kind of situation, everyone is very clear on what the roles are for an adult child living with their parents and what the financial responsibilities are for both generations, both when it's the adult child living at home and then later when it's the parents maybe being supported by the adult children. So it works out very nicely because it's all very balanced and the roles and expectations are clear. So the challenge is that in cultures where that's not the norm, or it's not yet the norm, the roles aren't as clearly defined. So it may be the adult children are living with their parents and getting the financial support, but not necessarily counting on providing that same level of support to their parents when they're older. So it can be a lot easier for the parents to end up being taken advantage of or feeling taken advantage of.
Yes, it can. Thank you, Christine. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Canadian baby boomers might like the idea of becoming an empty nester, but I have to tell you that 42.3% of young adults age, let's say 20 to 29, are still living with their parents today. And that's up from 26.9% in 1981. This suggests to me that now is the time to put Christine's plan into place and outline expectations of living under the same roof, the cost of living under the same roof, and finally that exit strategy to get them on their way to their financial independence. And that is a win-win.